I want schooling. Chinu will play on my side, cried Sachin. No, on my side, retorted Lucky. No one knew from where Chinu came or who his parents were. He was only a 10-year-old boy. A few years back, he was found abandoned in the street, sleeping on the projected platform of a house. Ever since, he had been living there. The women in the neighborhood, out of pity, gave him food to eat and old clothes to wear. He would huddle himself in some corner of the street at night. He was a servant of the street people for free. The women would bid him to fetch things from the market or clean their houses and utensils. In return, he would get food to eat and clothes to wear, and his limited needs made him a beloved in the street, as he was considered a gentle boy who did every possible job for everyone in the street. His slender body was quite strong and active. He often defeated children in race, and it was the reason that the boys in the street often wanted him on their side. His sharp reflections made him an asset for a team. Today, too, was no different. The two captains of the street teams wanted him on their respective side, and Chinu was too innocent to decide which team to join, for he wanted to remain beloved of all. Thus, Chinu was growing. No one cared for his schooling. The toughest time of the day for him was when the children were off to school or busy doing their homework, for the ladies would be after him, asking him to do household chores, such as fetching things from the market or doing the cleaning. But he never seemed to worry about all this. Chinu was quite gentle, but a desire always crept in his mind. He saw that the other children spoke polished language, and he knew it was due to the schooling they got that would make them better men in their lives than him. He, too, wanted to improve himself up, but who would pay for his fees and uniform? No way, he often said to himself as he grew up with an unfulfilled desire of education. To his dismay, no one else, children or grown-ups, ever seemed to take care of his desire of this, and he was in no position to impress them for this, as he hardly had any right over them. Chinu could visit almost every house in the street, but there were people who least cared about him. Such people forbade him from entering their houses or playing with their children. One such person was Mr. Sharma, who lived in a big house in the middle of the street. His wife, Sheila, too, despised him and never allowed him into the house. At times, Chinu had noticed that she would rather throw the leftover food to the dogs than offer it to him. But this was the house to which he was most attracted. He would dream to possess such a big and exquisitely built house when he grew up. Sometimes, he wondered why such a big house had so small windows, though the other houses had bigger windows. Mr. Sharma had a son who helped him in his business. Father and son went to work in their car, and it was this Chinu liked to watch, of course, from a distance, because Mr. Sharma, or for that matter, his son, had never ever bothered to throw a glance at him. He was hardly 1 year old, and Chinu had seen Sheila play with him in the vast courtyard where he would toddle about and give childlike shrieks. She fondly called her grandson Kaku. Chinu wanted to play with the innocent child, but Sheila would never allow him. It was forenoon. Chinu squatted at a platform near the big house, waiting for someone to remember him for his breakfast or some domestic task. Just then, he heard some noise and commotion from his right. He immediately looked up. He saw fierce flames blazing out from the main door of the big house, and old Sheila shrieking out aloud, while her daughter-in-law opened the iron gate and rushed out yelling, "Help! Help!" Chinu had seen Mr. Sharma and his son drive away a little ago. He sprang to his feet and ran to the iron gate. He saw that the house was on fire. People from the neighborhood had begun to gather. Much commotion and confusion prevailed there. Through water, someone in the crowd shouted, "Telephone for the fire tender," yelled another voice. Some people rushed with buckets full of water, while other people looked on. Fire began to spread out. Chinu saw that the main door was fully in flames, and it being the only door, there was no other way to get into the building. Being a tender boy, he never knew what to do, though he wanted to help them, for he wanted to turn the hate into love for himself. Helpless, he stood as his endeavor to rush with a bucket of water was foiled by a man. He stood rooted to his ground. All of a sudden, Sheila shouted, "Kaku, Kaku, he's inside. Save him." Her voice had turned hoarse out of fright and desperation. Soon, the loud siren of the fire tender filled the air. The fire tender stopped before the building. The firemen jumped out yelling at people to move away while Sheila hurriedly approached one of them and pleaded, "My Kaku is inside. Save him." "Who's he?" asked he. "My 1-year-old grandson." "Oh, where's he in the house?" "The main door is in flames. That window leads into the house." Sheila pointed to a ventilator-like small window. A wooden ladder was soon placed on the wall and one of the firemen climbed up with swift steps. But no. The window was too small for a man to creep into it. Only a small child could go inside. He looked through it. The roof was filled with nasty smoke. It could choke the child to death, he knew. So, he shouted, "Hurry up, bring the rope ladder." Another fireman rushed with a rope ladder while the others had already begun to splash water with hose pipes at the fire. But the fire was intense and was on the verge of spreading to other areas. The fireman at the wooden ladder tied the rope ladder on the window bar and cascaded it down into the room. Now, he needed a person of slender body or a child small enough to go into the suffocating room and retrieve the child, as all the firemen were stoutly built. He shouted back, "The window is too small. It's impossible to go inside. Is there a thin man or youth who can go inside?" All fell silent. Only the sound of flames and water falling on them pervaded the atmosphere. Who will take the risk? The question lurked. It was the question of life and death of an innocent child. Chinu was quick to perceive that it was his chance to hug the tiny tot, so he ran and climbed up the ladder, saying, "I'll go inside." All eyes turned towards Chinu, who was being helped by the firemen through the window. He took a deep breath and climbed down. The roof was filled with choking smoke and it was difficult to see anything. He moved around in the room to ascertain where the child was, and once he got him, he ran and clambered up the rope ladder. He was now no more able to stop breathing and he breathed smoke. He felt giddy but succeeded in reaching the top end of the rope ladder. The fireman took the child from his hands and handed it down, and then he helped Chinu to come out. By the time he could be brought out, he was already senseless. He and Kaku were rushed to the hospital. It did not take long for them to recover. Chinu, who was loved by all except Sheila, was now endeared to all. The father of the child wanted to reward him. He said, "Ask what you want." Chinu thought for a while as many people had gathered about him. He said in a soft voice, "I, too, want to go to school." "Well, you're now an inseparable part of my family," said Sheila in a gentle and friendly voice. "You're no more a servant of the street but the proud member of our home." While this was happening within the iron gate, there were children outside arguing with each other. "Chinu will join my school." "No, he will join my school because it's the best," said Sachin. "No, he'll join my school as it is the nearest," said Manu as more children joined in the fray. Let us wait and see who wins the argument.